Yo, what is up everyone? It is your boy Ishimaru here, and I am currently unemployed right now, so I would really appreciate a like and a sub if you aren't subbed already. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm in terms of getting my name out there, and of course, I am always grateful for you guys because the fact that I even have close to 1,600 people that are subbed to me is kind of crazy. But anyways, jumping into the video, recently I made a video titled, so I tried the new Bleach Soul Resonance game. And that was really my first day playing the game and kind of my initial thoughts. I've been playing the game a lot more since then, so I would say I am pretty confident in providing a more detailed analysis in terms of my thoughts on this game. In my previous video, I talked about how the game was very well voiced, but I think I spoke a little bit too soon because after I was done with chapter 2, there were no more voice lines for story mode, so that was a bit disappointing. At that point, you're pretty much basically just better off skipping the dialogues because it's not voiced. I'm not sure if they will add more voice lines in the game in the future, but I feel like it would be a bit of a missed opportunity if they do not do so. It would also be kind of weird because then you will have the first 2 chapters voice and then every chapter afterwards isn't, so that kind of feels like an incomplete game. Regardless, if you are really here for the dialogues and the voice lines, I would probably suggest playing a game like Bleach Brave Souls because that game is a little bit more well developed in terms of its story mode. And the game is also on PS5, I believe PC as well, I could be wrong, but of course you have to pay for it, so that is the reason why more characters are voiced in that game. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the combat system. So I mentioned this briefly in my previous video, but I feel like I didn't really do a good enough job covering it. So something that I noticed from the combat system is that there is a lot of focus on switching between characters in Bleach Soul Resonance. Unlike Bleach Brave Souls, where you typically just use one character in order to clear a stage, there is a lot more of an emphasis on juggling and switching between 3 characters in Bleach Soul Resonance. The reason why this works is because characters have cooldowns on their techniques, but even if you aren't using them, the countdown for the cooldowns will still continue, which is very interesting. I think that's a cool mechanic because it definitely allows for more diversity in terms of gameplay. However, I will say though that because of this, most characters only have like 2 skills. One is kind of like their Shikai ability, and the other is like their Bankai. I'm not sure if that's like the best explanation, but that is something you should be wary of, especially if you're coming to play this game from Bleach Brave Souls, where you're really more accustomed to 3 special moves and then a Soul Bomb and sometimes an EX ability. There is also an auto system as well in Bleach Soul Resonance, and honestly the auto system is actually pretty good because they make use of all the characters' abilities, and they also make use of the flash ups as well, unlike Bleach Brave Souls where they won't use stuff like EX abilities and the Soul Bomb when attacking. I mean, it also kind of makes sense why they wouldn't use EX abilities and Soul Bomb in Bleach Brave Souls because they should only be used for specific purposes, but I just thought it was important to bring that up. Regarding the auto system in Bleach Soul Resonance, the auto button only exists for specific content in the game. For example, usually for content to get supplies and for content that's not really new, such as hard mode, 40 story mode that you have already completed. You could also auto it, but if it's like the first time seeing this chapter in the game, you wouldn't really you wouldn't be able to auto it. I will say though that depending on your level and whatnot, you're probably going to have to sometimes play it out in order to meet the criteria to get the stars. So not everything in this game is autoable. Another thing is that for content that's repetitive, such as for supplies, there is a functionality called raid, which allows you to get the rewards without having to actually play or grind out the game. So the raid functionality is kind of like a skip button. I think this is good because stuff like farming supplies isn't something that players enjoy doing in the first place, and there is just so much other stuff that you could be doing for time. I believe that the only time something like skipping would kind of suck is if it's applied to every single aspect of the game, which fortunately isn't the case in Bleach Soul Resonance. There's just so much stuff you could do when playing this game, which is why I genuinely enjoy playing it, and that's the reason why that's the reason why I decided to make a video on it. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the content in this game. When I say content in the game, I'm really referring to content outside of story mode and the regular combat system, and so far the game is actually very fun in my opinion. There's like a lot of mini games you could do in this game that's not just fighting. One example I can think of is the joint exercises. This is not something that where you're just going to be fighting monsters and battling it out. There's actually many activities that you need to be doing, such as dodging, learning how to counter abilities. So speaking of the counter mechanic, I would say this is probably one of the abilities and mechanics that you should probably learn when playing this game because of the massive buffs that you get from being able to counter an attack. However, this is very hard to learn, especially if you haven't played games that offer some kind of counter mechanic, but definitely rewarding if you understand how to use it. But anyways, there is a lot of unlockable content in this game once you reach a certain level, which is good because it doesn't feel like you could just beat the game once and once you reach a certain point, there's always more stuff to do, and I think that's like the correct recipe for a good game design. However, there are issues with this because you do have to progress pretty far in Bleach Soul Resonance in order to be able to unlock content. So of course there are pros and cons depending on how you look at it, with content being locked behind certain levels. So yeah. Finally, I would like to talk more about the gacha system because I think I kind of understand it a little bit more now. And I thought it was also very interesting as well. So this game is very, very free-to-play friendly because of the way the guarantee system works and how easy it is to get an SSR unit. Basically, you're guaranteed an SSR unit, which is the highest rarity of a unit in this game, every 80 steps, and the game kind of hands out a lot of these summon tickets, so it's not surprising to see a free-to-play player have all these SSR units from the standard gacha within a week. Like, it wouldn't be surprising if you're playing this game for like a week and then you have all the SSR units from the standard gacha. That could definitely happen, right? The thing that does kind of suck is the limited number of characters in the standard gacha, and that is something that I mentioned in my previous video as well. There's only 6 SSR characters in the standard gacha, and this is not including the limited Ichigo, the limited Bankai Ichigo. So I'm not sure how they're going to handle this because I'm not sure if they will move these limited characters, for example, the Bankai Ichigo, to the standard banner once he goes away, or if the Bankai Ichigo is just going to be gone until a future banner, so basically remain a limited character. That is something that we're just kind of have to wait and see. But if you guys do know, please let me know in the comment section below because I am sure many players have the same question as well. I mean, this also kind of goes with anything in life as well, correct? So if you have a question, many other people are going to have the same question. Another thing is that if you do get dupes, there is a boundary system which gives you some slight boost in terms of damage output. Nothing game changing from what I've seen in the game. The game is not revolved around having dupes, which is a good thing. There's also a bit of a cashback system as well with the ticket stub exchange, where if you get a dupe or anything that subs, you will get ticket stubs, which can then be used in return to exchange for stuff like limited gacha tickets. So that is really nice because even if you get a dead multi, at the very least you will get something in return. There's also a stamp system as well, which is kind of like an accessory system that we have like in like Bleach Brave Souls or any other game. So I don't want to go too much into that because you don't really learn too much about it until like after level 21 or something regarding the stamp system. So yeah. So final thoughts to answer the question whether this game is worth playing or not. I would say it definitely is worth playing. The game is still in its beginning phases and there's a lot of potential for this game, and I can see this game popping off in a few months because the characters are really well designed, well animated, and the gameplay is super fun. And I mentioned this in my previous video as well. Apparently the game is also currently doing really well, and there's an advertisement of it in Times Square. So shout out to anyone in New York, by the way. Also, if you guys have made it this far, I would really appreciate if you guys like and subscribe because a brother is unemployed right now and I could use any support I could get. And as always, make sure to stay safe, stay healthy, and also before we end the video, apparently Gin Ishimaru is coming out soon in this game, I believe next month. So I'm definitely gonna do a video on him because he is my favorite character. So expect a summoning video as well as a gameplay video for him. But yeah, make sure to like and subscribe, stay safe and stay healthy everyone.